to another Sunday morning sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X. Yes. This morning, I'm going to try something slightly new, but I dig the idea of it. I want to draw a B-movie creature. I also dig this image. This is a wonderful image. I'm going to do Roman from Robot Monster. I'm going to have to add a little bit more to him because he basically is just a ball with a couple circles in it, so I think I'm going to work on the Roman's face. I believe there's actually a skull in there. There's definitely something in there, and it's skull or face-like. But to be honest, I don't think there's a whole lot of actual deep mythology attached to this movie. I just like it. It's perfectly what it is. I don't know if I saw it first when I was like a little kid, because we used to live out in basically lived out in the country, and there was really not a whole lot on TV, so, you know, cheap movies were kind of the norm. Anywho, get this right, because if I make it too big, his antennas are going to square out, just go right off the page.
Jason Hines is watching with us.
Okay, what was it, sweetie?
Jason Hines is watching with us.
Hey, Jason, how's it going? What I do know of where I know Robot Monster from is, not that we are doing bad on Mystery Science Theater 3000 these days. We finally got the new Netflix series, which has been a lot of fun. This is kind of a lonely, nerdy kid. Mystery Science Theater 3000 was just one of my favorite things as a kid. And I know for a fact I saw it on that. Okay. Alright, now we got that roughly figured out. I'm going to zoom in. And Mystery Science Theater 3000 just did a wonderful job with Robot Monster. I mean, talk about literally like I think it was like a small town or a super small production, whatever it was, but it was like literally like a gravel pit, an ape suit, a bunch of people, and like a funky head, and some fireworks, special effects, and a bubble machine. I mean, like, it was so messed up. I mean, it's what I adored about it. It was that right level of cheap and weird, and like they clearly made decisions based off of only what they could do, which is like sort of like a big duh. But since it was so limited, they really had to just like really just do what they could. And it's like the Robot Monsters like invasion base was like a cave. Which admittedly was a real cave and was actually kind of a nice cave in black and white. It read pretty well. I mean, for a monster cave, it was pretty good. And then what I loved was it was a cave with like a cheap dinner table, some radio equipment, and a bubble machine. And a giant ape suit with a funky robot head. You know, invading the Earth because that's apparently what Romen do. And apparently the father in it was he's clearly a German scientist, and since it's like the 50s I think this came out in, you're kind of going like, well, you're a German scientist in the 50s in America. You're kind of going like, what brand of German scientist were you again? You know, so you're kind of, the back of my head even as a kid, I'm going like, is their dad an escaped Nazi? I mean,
I studied Jesus.
oh yeah, and well, he was clearly like a higher physicist level kind of like German scientist, so you could kind of read the whole thing off as maybe He was one of the scientists that got out of Nazi Germany before. But there's a little bit in the back of my head going like, is this dude a Nazi? And then there's like his perfectly blonde daughter, which one way you could read as, well, there was a lot of perfectly blonde daughters in those movies. But then you got like the perfectly blonde daughter from like the potentially escaped Nazi scientist fighting the ape man from outer space. God, it was such a funky movie. And then there was like the precocious little all-American brat with like the slingshot and like his sister that he hates because she's a girl. You know, and you're just, you know, and the Roman that falls in love with the perfect like Aryan blonde daughter, and which made just no sense whatsoever. The whole thing was just so ridiculous and so strange and so perfect because of it. It was literally like that perfect, we're going to go out in a gravel pit and film a funky movie kind of perfect. It was just like, you know, it was almost like a kids film. Not kids film. Teenagers with a camera filming a sci-fi kind of film. That's what I meant. And you end up with just this perfectly ridiculous, goofy, poorly written, strangely acted plot making no sense. I mean, it was like, I believe it was like the Roman attack, but it was just the one, and he wiped out every human on Earth, and during the attack there were dinosaurs for no reason. I mean, really, I mean, there were dinosaurs. You were just like, what? And then apparently because the scientist was a scientist, he had somehow saw it coming and had created like some electrical cables around their bombed out house that kept them from dying from the attack, so they're the last humans, I believe, on Earth. They never indicated there were any more they found anymore, and it was the blonde daughter and the only other member of the human species that lived, which was not a member of the family, which clearly they were going to be an Adam and Eve type. But then the Roman had different, you know, wants and needs of the blonde daughter for no reason that made any level of sense. And oh my God, it was such a perfectly, wonderfully, just goofy. And he's just has ever since been like just one of the iconic like B-movie monsters, and I just love this dude because I actually liked the character. As bad as it was, he had a great voice, and he was just this big like Tor Johnson sized guy with like meaty hands and a gorilla body, and it just
He was Megamind, didn't they do the homage to him with Minion, the sidekick?
yeah. As a matter of fact, you're right. Yeah, Megamind, the fish-headed sidekick with the giant robotic ape body was just right off of Robot Monster. Yeah, just wonderfully, just one of those perfect, like, it could only have happened in, like, 1950 whatever America, as people are trying to, like, you know, cash in on the B-movie sci-fi craze, and somebody came up with this profoundly, and I almost want to say it's actually a lot better of a movie than people say it is, primarily because it's bad in a fascinating way. Like, I want to see somebody do an actual psychological study of this movie. There's like the little boy with, you know, is the precocious brat who hates his sister, but he doesn't hate his sister enough to get his sister killed, but, you know, he clearly hates his, and then there's the giant beast robot man from space who wants to breed with the blonde teenage girl for no apparent reason, and just everything, you know, just frankly bizarre. It's just like I want like some people to go in and just go like, oh, we should really look at this. It's kind of like those. It's kind of like heavy metal culture where, like in the concerts, 99% of the fans were teenage boys, and like all the dudes up on stage were like sweaty older men wearing like tight leather pants with no underwear showing their bulges. Like you just kind of go like, what? Like it's like, no, it's fine. I mean, if that's your thing. But I kind of want I want some psychiatrists or anthropologists to come in and like take a look at this. And it's one of those funny things where you're like, man, I'm just kind of curious. Like, what is this? You know? It's just so goofy. So perfectly goofy. I actually, a lot of people are going like, oh, what kind of game do would you like to see made? And it's not me specifically, but just they ask their friends or family, what kind of game? And as all the good games we have right now, there's a part of me going like, can we get some like real serious production games based on like some of these weird old B movies? And I'm not saying like as like and I loved the Destroy All Humans series and all that, but I'm specifically going like, can I get like an epic like PS4 robot monster game and just see what the heck the creators come up with? Do you play the Roman? Do you play the precocious little punky jerk kid? The blonde daughter that's just trying to get away from the advances of the ape beastie Roman robot guy, you know. Just, I saw some depictions of Roman with like a skull, which I think it might sort of be back. There's some kind of a face thing back behind the smoked glass. Very likely was the actor or something like that. But I'm kind of going like, I saw somebody do a skull, and I thought, man, that's just super cool. So that's what I'm gonna. That's what I'm going to do. Because frankly, the moment I saw that interpretation, I was like, oh, that is perfect. It's so cheesy, so pulpy. Another game I'd love to see people get the Mars Attacks license and do serious Mars Attacks games. God, that stuff would be so much fun to play. Adjust the lights here. There we go. I mean, I get it. Not everybody's into B movies or whatever. I mean, I get it. I'm not an idiot. I just kind of wish there was some more B movie kind of stuff out there, because it just seems like such a wonderful kind of pool of design and ideas to pull from for games and stories and movies and stuff. Like, I'm still waiting for a really good Mars Attacks movie. I know, I think it was Tim Burton, I think, did one. It was okay. I'm kind of waiting for, like, a really good one, like, where they actually looked at the card sets and actually went, oh, there's some good ideas in here. With Robot Monster, I'm kind of like wanting people to go in and go like, man, I think I can expand upon this ridiculously wacky world. Why were there dinosaurs involved in the Roman invasion, you know? was like lightning and dinosaurs, and it completely made no sense. I think that's why it was wonderful. It made zero sense. Well, it made little sense. Some of it made sense.
Jim Nelson just popped in.
Okay, what was that, sweetie?
Jim Nelson just popped in.
Oh, right on. Hey, man, how's it going?
A little slow on the uptake today.
No, it's okay. It's Sunday. Like we should even be doing what we're doing right now. Fairly certain Sunday, everyone on Earth should just completely shut off and, not even put pants on. I mean, unless you want to do the church thing, of course. But I'm even of the opinion if you go to church, you just shouldn't even put pants on. So, I mean, if you want to, you should. But it's Sunday. Yeah, I think I'll be doing some more sci-fi, like classic B-movie stuff. I think I think that'll end up being a lot of fun. There's just a bunch of really just goofy creatures and stuff that I just would think I'd just totally get into. Yeah. I think I'd love to see like actual footage from like the development meetings for these cheap movies. It could be, and it could literally be just a guy going like, "Just design a monster. I don't care what it is." And then somebody like walks in, and is like, "Well, we have an ape suit, and we built this TV antenna / spherical window head, and we stuck it on there." And he's like, "That's perfect." Did you do it for $10? We did it for $9.22. Perfect. Or did they sit around and like really like carefully think about what this thing looked like? I really want to know. I think that would make a wonderful kind of like B-movie stories kind of like documentary where they go over these weird old movies and they go like, "Yeah, I remember when we originally created blah blah blah," and then you get these weird stories about, the crazy and bizarre personalities. I would imagine even completely normal personalities that were involved, but clearly, because hey, normal people happen. But I could just imagine, like, yeah, the director was just drunk half the time and he didn't care. And we were like, well, we got ourselves an ape suit, you know. And this kind of diving helmet looking thing. And somebody starts crying because they used to do Shakespeare at one point, and they're like, this isn't theater. Hate to say this to a lot of people, but I actually think this stuff is a lot cooler than Shakespeare. I hate doing that to people, but I'm like, Sorry about that. But we all have different interests. I think Robot Monster would probably be a horror survival B-movie game. I almost want to say like the game Sir, You're Being Hunted, where it's just there's just a world and you're just trying to survive and avoid the robot monster. I'm not really sure what you would do beyond that. Guess you just have to make stuff up at that point. Those big leathery ape chesties. I have no idea what they're called. I would assume pecs, but it's an alien, and it could be a solar panel for all I know. You know what? I'm gonna make it a peck. I'm going to give the robot monster nipples. That's what I'm going to do. This is important. This is important. Why is it important? I don't know. But I think it's important. There we go. Gonna give him large ape nipples. Yes. Robot monster, skull face, ape nipples. There we go. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. I'm doing good work here. Yeah. Yes, the row nipples. That just sets the whole thing off. My God, did I make them two different sizes? Cannot have asymmetrical row nipples. The row men are perfectly symmetrical, I suppose. Yes, I know those highlights make no sense. I don't care. Why? Because I'm creating, check this out, a visual language. You sweep from top to bottom and you think to yourself, all right, there's a highlight, because they come in pairs like that. So when I come down and check this out, when I put row highlights on the row man's row nipples, no one will question it. They will think, this man is just doing what is supposed to happen. This is doing, well, I wouldn't be so bold as to say God's work. That would be taking it way over the top. But he's doing a good thing for society. He is giving the Roman glossy row nipples a little bit of that magical sci-fi row gloss. There we go. Oh. Yeah. And put a hot little highlight right there. Make sure no little buggers are popping out. It's cold out in that bubble-filled cave. I almost feel like I want to give him like a big bunch of like Mr. T golden chains. God, what if he fought Mr. T? Roman fighting Mr. T. I gotta contemplate this for a moment. God, that would be beautiful, wouldn't it? There'd be a lot of fool pitying, and a lot of humaning. Human.
I'd watch it.
Truly, Mr. T is the strongest of the humans, but not as strong as the Romans. Well, I know you'd watch it. You have tremendous taste. Reminds me of the ghost deep sea diver from Scooby-Doo. Thanks, Jay. My friend Jason said that. It's really funny. Actually, that'd be another pair. What if you got the Scooby-Doo deep sea dive ghost and Roman teamed up to get together against, I would assume, Mr. T and... Oh, I want to say Chuck Norris, but that's the easy solution on that one. So I'm not going to say Chuck Norris. That's just too cheap. Oh, shoot. Who would it be? Oh, no, it's a groaner. You know, nothing magical's coming to mind. I got a bunch of options in my head, but I don't know who Mr. T would team up with on that one. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a head scratcher. You might have to get like really just completely out of nowhere to get something really magical at that point. You know, would it have to be something just like super simple, like Mr. T and Andre the Giant and like classic 80s wrestling gear? Would it be that simple? Is that too simple of a suggestion? It doesn't quite sing right, but I could just see Andre the Giant just lifting like Roman over his head. It could work. It just doesn't quite like, really... Like it definitely works. It just... don't quite have a... I don't know. Roman. Oh, something's missing. Something's missing. Does he need chest hair? I'm already slightly off model from Roman anyway. He'd like a big pimp chain? He might need a pimp chain. I feel like this area is just too plain. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of a big, like, power medallion. We got a lot of circles in a row. I might as well continue it, liking that circles running down thing. Got a lot of circles here. I think that kind of helps. Let's see if I can come up with something to... Because it would be weird to put like the black power fist. That would just be strange. Oh, wait, I know. I know. There's only one thing a Roman would have on a Roman power medallion. That would be the head of a Roman. Because that is all Roman care about. Is Roman, well, that and apparently blonde American teenagers. But many monsters have that weakness for some strange reason, so we'll just let that go. Little Roman on there. Got a little row action going on. Got a little bit of row power. That's all right. Charles Bronson, Hulk Hogan. For those out in TV land whom cannot see the messages on the live feed here, friend Jim is suggesting Charles Bronson or Hulk Hogan. Charles Bronson would be an interesting one to team up with Mr. T against Roman and the deep sea diver from Ghost Diver from Scooby-Doo. That's actually pretty good. Because Charles Bronson. I like that. We might go with that. That might actually be better than Andre the Giant. Because you'd have all these big, bulky people, and then you'd have Charles Bronson. Ooh, that's good. I like that. Well, anywho, I think I did pretty good for my first B-movie monster on Sunday morning sketch. I think I'll do some more of these. There's a bunch of these goofy old monsters that are just as kind of rough as the designs are. They're kind of fun because they are rough and weird. Plus, I'm digging the addition of the Roman Power Medallion. All right, well, everyone have yourself a good week out in TV land out there. And I'm going to be taking Roman. And next week, I'm wondering what's going to happen here. I'm starting to notice that when I get stuff coming together, being my sketches on different pages, there seems to be a end of the episode smooch. So I don't know who it is, but next week someone will be smooching the Roman. So we are going to find out what that smooch is going to be. I don't know yet. Maybe I'll do the Phantom Ghost from Scooby-Doo. Anywho, y'all have yourself a good one, and we will get my Mr. Rogers bit set here. I'm going to center that up. I'm going to take my little wooden box, my little pencil box, chase it, slide it, and ha-ha, there we go. I've successfully done a menial task. Okay, everyone have yourself a good week.